everyone, I hope you're having an amazing day. So today I'm going to talk about the design patterns in Apex, right? So if you're someone who has worked on different programming languages like Java, C++, C Sharp, Delphi, Python, you might be familiar with the design patterns, right? So even if you're an Apex developer, you still might know what the design patterns are all about, right? Design patterns are software patterns, right? They're off-the-shelf, product or say patterns, which is often used to a commonly occurring problem, right? So if there is a problem out there and there are sort of patterns which has been used on them before in the past, so that patterns, it's often assumed that that pattern is going to work to to solve the similar kind of problem. And it's very handy for a software development team as well, right? For instance, you're working on a project, a very complex project, let's say integration project, where I've used a certain amount of, let's say XYZ pattern, design pattern, right? And then a new developer comes into your team, right? It's easy to train that person on the design pattern, because often it's expected that whoever joins your team will have some basic understanding or have some knowledge about the programming language you're working in your company, right? So that's why you hired that person in the first place, right? So we're going to talk about factory pattern today, right? There are different patterns as well, like Singleton Pattern, which relies on only on one instance throughout the life cycle of an application. But I haven't seen the use of a Singleton Pattern in Apex because I use a lot of class with all static methods, so I don't see the need of using a Singleton Pattern. It doesn't make much sense to me. But by all means, if you're someone who uses Singleton Pattern and you think there is a reason why you chose that over static methods, class with all static methods, please do let me know in the comments below. I will really appreciate that. Right, so what we're going to do, we're going to talk about a factory pattern. Now you wonder what the heck it is a factory pattern, right? It's a part of a creation pattern, right? So think about a scenario, right? You go to a factory, a normal factory, right, which manufactures cell phone, let's say a laptops, right? So what do? You go inside the factory and you had a look at the cell phone, and you like the cell phone, and you go to counter, you say, look, I wanted to buy a cell phone. So factory sells your cell phone, right? And then you decide to look at the laptop, and you like the laptop, and say, look, I wanted to buy a laptop. So the factory sells you a laptop, right? So the same factory, right, gives you service, right, either in the form of a laptop or either in the form of a cell phone or a mobile phone, right? So like you got this two things from one place, right? All you have to do is ask, what do you want, right? If you say, I want a service, so obviously, they will ask what kind of service you're after, right? You say, look, I want to buy a 2 cell phone or 5 cell phone, whatever, right? Okay, the person, or customer service officer or an agent will sell you the product, right? Similarly, if you're going to request them for a laptop, they will obviously sell you the product, right? So we're gonna build that in the code, right? And then we're gonna see how to use that. And then what we're gonna do, we're gonna add another service to a factory. Let's say they wanted to sell batteries, right? And then I'm gonna show you how your code will be least impacted on the client side, right? So I have used a lot of factory pattern in my integration, right? Because we do integrate with third parties in Apex, in Salesforce, because we work on an ERP system on Salesforce, so we do integration with different vendors. So if you have vendors, right, four or five vendors, so it's always good to use, and I use factory pattern, so that when I consume that services, right, I go through one interface, right? I don't have to worry about what's happening behind the scene. I use enum to differentiate it, and then my interface does the job. So this helps me to have a code abstraction, right? And so it's like a data hiding concept, right? If you understand the concept of encapsulation, right? So this is one of the very common concepts in object oriented, right? So I don't or data hiding, right? So I don't have to expose the underlying details to the consuming app, right? So I can use the interface, pass the enum, right? It does the job. That's pretty much it. That's all I have to care. So when something changes, change the enum, right? That's pretty much. Okay, so I'm gonna develop that right now. So very basic and very nice and easy. So the first thing first, right? You need to log into your work. So if you do not know how to do that, so please go and register at developer.salesforce.com so you can register for a free org and then get you started, right? And then from here, there's a gecko icon and a in your org, right? So it will take you to developer console. So I've already logged into my org and initiated the dev console. So what we're going to do, we're going to create an interface first, right? So the interface is what we're going to expose it to the consuming app, right? So consuming as assume it is as your dev anonymous window, right? So, okay, so what we're going to do, we're going to go to new, and so we say IFAC service, right? So I presume everyone knows what interface is all about, right? Right, so we're gonna do string give service, right? So it will return a service, right? It could be a mobile phone or it could be a cell phone, whatever, or a laptop, right? I'll demonstrate what I mean by that. Okay, so we created the service, so this is what we exposed to our calling program. It's just sometimes takes time to save it. Okay, so it's still saving. I don't know why it's taking time today, but at times it's annoying that org takes ages to save it. If it doesn't save, so I'm gonna close it and then wanna build it again. Okay, alright, so what we're gonna do, let's close this one. At times it's annoying. So dev console, right? Okay, right, so we'll say search and file. I'll probably put give service. Okay, okay, there's no such thing here. Probably IFAC service. Okay, we have this one. Okay, so we're gonna do void, not void, string give service. I'm just gonna close it. Okay, alright, so what we're gonna do, forget about this one. Let's create another cloud factor. Let's discard this one. So okay, for whatever reason it's not saving. Okay, and we'd like to close. It's annoying at times. I mean, I get annoyed when I do stuff with dev console. See the integration. Okay, whatever. So would you like to close? Yeah. Okay. Let's start all over again. It's gonna do Apex class. We say IFAC serve. All right. So. All right. So we're gonna do interface. So void string give service. Hopefully this should save. If it doesn't save for whatever reason, then we just need to restart the org, re-login. Okay, save. Okay, cool. All right. I didn't mean restart. I mean re-login to the org. Okay, so that's fine. Now we're gonna create two classes. One is called a cell class, right? That will return into a cell phone, right? So what we're gonna do, so I'm gonna close this all of the previous stuff here. So we're gonna implement interface. Oh no, this one, sorry. I mean, I think I should use Visual Studio Code instead of Dev Control. At times, Dev Control just annoys me. I don't know if you find it annoying, but I mean, I do like it. I mean, I use a lot, but at times, yeah, it's just a pain. Okay, so we're gonna do public. So keep this. Okay, so return. We're gonna do what? Cell phone. Okay. All right. No, what? Okay. Implements, right? Obviously. All right. Okay. So now we're gonna create mobile phone, sorry, the laptop, right? Okay, so we're gonna implement. Okay, so obviously we have to implement the method. So one of the thing of using interface, right? So if you are implementing an interface, right, it's like a legal contract between a class and interface, right? Say, hey, if you're going to implement me, you have to implement all of my methods, right? That's how it works. So, which is pretty good. It's good for if you want abstraction laptop, right? Okay, so we done this one now. Okay, now what we're gonna do, we're gonna create another one. So we're gonna call fac serve class. Okay, so we're gonna do enum first. Public enum fac. So we're gonna do cell laptop, right? And then we're gonna do public static. So we just gonna save this one for now. Okay, just gonna take some time. So, I do not know why it's taking time to save today, which is just annoying. Maybe it's Saturday. That's why. Alright, okay, no mind. Get fac. Okay, factory. Right. Alright, so what we're gonna do, so we're gonna pass the fac here, enum here, f, right? So I'm gonna do if f. I explained to you what I'm doing, right? So I'm gonna clear this for you. Fac dot cell. So we're gonna do return new cell class, right? Else if f equals to fac dot laptop, right, returns new laptop, right? All right, okay, so else return null. Right, so let's save it and then explain what I'm trying to do. Okay. Hang on. Okay, it's not done with. Right, it's going to take some time to save it. Okay, all right, so it's all nice and easy, right? Okay, cool. So what I'm trying to do here, right? So I've created a interface first, right? So ifac serve. So this is the interface I created first, and then I have implemented class, right? And then I've implemented a method of ifac serve, right, which actually returns either cell phone or laptop. Now here, this is the main class which you can expose, right, to calling program. And because the calling program should not be concerned about the cell class or laptop, shouldn't be bothered with any of this stuff, right? Because they shouldn't be concerned about the underlying design or underlying code. What they should be concerned about is the facserve class dot ifacserve, right? That's all they should be interested into. So what's happening here is, so I'm passing an enum, right? So if the f equal to fac.cell, right, I'm instantiating a cell class, right? Saying to, look, I'm passing an enum, so give me a cell class, right? Or I'm passing a laptop, give me a laptop, right? So I'll just demonstrate you how a calling program, a consuming program, will use it in your Salesforce. So go to execute window. So I'm just going to get rid of this one. So I'm going to do ifac serve, complete I equals to fac serve class dot get factory, and now we're going to do fac serve class, right, dot just going to do fac dot cell. Hopefully I spelled it correctly, right? Fac cell. Okay, now just let's see, so correctly, system dot debug I dot, what's the method here? It's the same, give service. Right, give service, hopefully it works. Okay, so let's see what's the result. Okay, so now, okay, I got cell phone, right? Now, what we're gonna do, so I now gonna change it to, let's say instead of cell, I will change it to laptop, right? So obviously it should return to me laptop. Okay. Told you that for some reason org is very slow. Okay, returns the laptop, right? So this is my calling, assume that this is my calling program, right? I don't, let's say for whatever reason, right, I decide I wanted to add a battery class, right? So let's say factory decides to sell batteries now, right? So pretty much, right, how to do that. So the calling program, right, you don't have to do drastic change to the calling program. So all you have to do in a calling program, so first you go to here, right, and then add something called, let's say, I'll just put bat, right? I'll just put bat for short form for battery, right? So, and I'm gonna save it, right? So I've created an enum here. So if you wanted to change your calling program, you need to do a little bit tiny change. So here, just change it to bat, right? You don't have to do any of the change in the consuming program, right? No, nothing else. You don't have to worry about if the batteries, how the battery class is implemented. So this is the responsibility of, you know, the actual factory class, right? So you're gonna, what are you gonna do? I'm gonna keep minimize it here. So I'm gonna create a new class here. So called back class, right? Well, let's say all right. So instead of battery, right? So let's say, okay, I decide to change the mind, right? Let's say the factory said, oh look, you know, we don't want to sell batteries, right? They're not very profitable. Instead, we'll sell, you know, iPads, right? So what they're gonna do? So we're gonna do iPad class, right? So they decide to change their mind. You know, business often changes their mind, right? So what we're gonna do? So we're gonna do here iPad here, right? And then just gonna keep it here. So implements iFac serve. Okay, and so you're gonna do public string. So you're gonna do give service, right? And then you're gonna do return iPad. Okay, so let's save it. Let's see if it works. It's taking some time. All right, okay. Now just go to the main class here, right? Backserve, and now else. Change it here. If, so just put it as iPad. Equal to fact dot iPad. So we're gonna do return new. What's the iPad class, right? And it's gonna do else return no. So you change the what's the problem here? Oh, sorry. Right, okay. So you've changed this class to have, you know, to cater for iPad as well, right? So now I've done the change here. So now what do you think is going to happen? So here, if you run this code, so we'll return you an iPad, right? So factor method is very handy if you're after creation pattern, right? And if you have similar scenario, something like this, where you do not have to instantiate, different classes again and again for different things, right? You just use the one factory method and instantiate it, provided if you have a common method like this, right? If you have this class have different methods, right? Let's say laptop has cost of a laptop, and here has cost of a cell phone, then this approach won't work because there is no common method, right? So this is something like when you have a common method, right, which can be exposed using interface, right? So we have used interfaces. Interfaces are very handy, right? Especially when you're designing a factory class or a design pattern in general. So, and what I've done, it's pretty straightforward. So this is a consuming program, means basically your when you're doing integration, right, it's on your how to use it in your batch class or wherever, right? So you can use something like this, right? This saves the code duplication, right? There won't be any code duplication because you won't have to initialize. Because you don't have to do every time like this, right? Something like imagine let's say something f(fact) equals to let's say laptop class laptop L equals to new laptop, right? And then you do L dot that's give service, and for you have for cell class C equals to new cell class, right? And then you say C dot cell class, C dot give service, right? So instead of doing this, you can just do that in one line of a code, right? So you can expose it using just a factory interface, right? It's very, because it's very handy, right? And you don't have to repeat your code. You don't have to expose your underlying classes, right? That's the main thing, right? So that's pretty much what I wanted to talk about today. So I'm pretty sure that you might have used factory if you even in Apex or any programming language, if you're someone who came from a Java background or or a C# background or a Delphi background or whatever language, or Smalltalk or whatever, right? So so factory pattern is it's important, but that doesn't mean that you have to use it every place, right? You need to understand the requirement, right? It doesn't fit everywhere, right? Design patterns serve certain tasks, but there's no point in overcomplicating a code. What I mean by that, let's say you have only one class, right? Just say you only have a laptop. There is no point that you're using creating a factory, because factory making just one thing, right? And if you knew that there's, in future you won't get anything, right? There won't be any addition to the classes, right? So I would say don't bother, right? Just stick to a very basic something like this, right? But if you have a different classes which you want to instantiate, right, and then you have a similar method, and then might as well go for a factory method, right? It makes your code robust, reliable, easy to test, right? So so that's pretty much what I wanted to cover today. So next time we're going to talk about different design pattern. Design patterns are very good. Please read out the design patterns whenever you get time. It's very handy. If you're a developer, it's often expected you should have a knowledge of it, right? Because, when I interview someone, right, if a person do not understand design pattern, that raises a red flag for me. If someone comes to me and says, look, I have 10, 15 years experience, I say, do you understand design pattern? No. I say, then really I don't consider that as a 15 years of experience, because, experience is something. It's kind of debatable, right? If you've been doing same thing over and over and over and over, then that's not really an experience. You're repeating the same thing. But if you're learning something new every single year, yes, that is considered an experience, right? So, every year you're trying something new, you're learning new stuff, you're developing your skill set. Yes, that is an experience. But if you're doing the same thing over 10 years, 15 years, then it's the same thing multiplied by 15 times. That's not really a 15 years experience in my case, in my opinion. You might disagree on that, right? Everyone is entitled to their opinion, but I don't consider that as an experience whenever I interview someone. And I expect a person to at least have an understanding of design pattern. It not necessarily mean they have to use it, right? But at least they should understand at least some solid principles, what solid principles is all about, because otherwise you won't know how to write it in a code in an efficient manner, right? Because I don't like to see spaghetti code, to be honest. That sucks. I mean, I will hate to see someone writing spaghetti code, duplicating the stuff. That's just a big no. That is a critical error for me at any point of time. That will not pass the code review. End of story, right? I mean, all right, sorry. Yeah, I digress. All right, I hope you guys find some value out of it, right? And my apologies that there was a bit hiccups, right? I've been doing a lot of JavaScript this morning, so when you work on different technologies, right? So I was playing around. I was doing a lot of React development this morning. So moving to Apex, sometimes you get confused with the syntax, because I sometimes work with C#, JavaScript. I do my own stuff, and React. Very often I use Apex, right, as a part of my work, but JavaScript I don't use at work. So that's I do develop my own software when I get time in React framework, which is very good. Do check out React. I mean, if you're someone from JavaScript background, do know, right, how flexible React is. Okay, all right. That's all I wanted to talk about it. So wherever you are, greetings and addies from New Zealand.